desk. On the desk, you make out a variety of papers, notes, and maps, as well as a sealed letter with a stamp you don't recognize. The desk itself is suspended with ropes to keep it safely in place. Interesting. Take your quests. You take a seat at the end of the room. The captain joins you. Now, let's run through our provisions before taking the requests. To start, there's 23 souls signed onto this expedition, ourselves included. That's 16 free to be assigned to tasks if they aren't already busy. The rest are deployed to their permanent stations. You are only able to deploy crew who you have discovered. They must be in good health and not otherwise deployed to another post. We'll be picking up the scouting crew at the next port. The lot of us also seem to be in good spirits. The expedition will tear itself apart if you end the week with no decorum left. We've enough provisions for at least 6 months in case of emergency. Okay. Crew members will start to develop scurvy and be unable to work should you end the week with no food left in the hoosh spot. And more than enough fuel to see us there and back again. You will all freeze to death if you end the week with no fuel in the furnace. The sledding dogs, well, they're still a matter of negotiation. Dog will need to be needed to send sledding teams out to gather resources on the ice. Now on to work. Cordell or Corvid? Interesting. Cordell. Have you agreed upon my conditions? To the point, eh? Shaw, this is Lady Cordell. Cordell here is to provide us with the kennel of hounds for the sleds. And our agreement was that she would train them up until we part ways at the nearest island, but you neglected to inform me that you were bringing my dogs through the Pale Passage. I had no intention of sending the pack to its death. You seem to have good faith in this expedition. It's one thing to ask on my whole kennel, it's another to drag them into the ice to chase a myth. Never before has a buyer been so dishonest. And never before has a seller made such strong demands. Lady Cordell. The music is pretty loud still. A moniker given to me by the locals of the city on account of her vernacular. I find it odd that you seem to have researched me as much as you have my kennel. I'd like to know who I'm negotiating with. Regardless, Shaw, she demands we allow her to come along on the expedition as a member of the crew. None on the ship have the experience and familiarity with these dogs that I possess. If you're taking them to such a brutal location, you will need to guide them if they have any chance of survival. The humans on board too, of course. Of course. You can see my dilemma, Shaw. Bringing on another member of the crew is a risk, but our hands may be tied. Your thoughts? I don't see the harm in having an expert on sled dogs. A good point, Shaw. He turns to her. This deal is already to your benefit. Do you have anyone on board with extensive training in the management of ruling of dogs? Your sleds are useless if you can't control the dogs efficiently enough to hold them. And I would like to ensure my dogs are treated properly. Welcome aboard, Cordell. Your knowledge should prove valuable. Invaluable. I'll have a room prepared for you below deck. Max crew increased to 24. Interesting. No need. You'll find me in the forecastle with the dogs. She leaves. I hope I'm not making a mistake, Shaw. Hey, we got the dogs. Who are you, Corvid? We found a stowaway in the lower hold. Bring him in. Another sailor enters, leading a young man by their side. You're not the first stowaway we have had. The captain studies them further. You know where we're heading, don't you? I do, sir. The ice. Did you know that before you climbed inside that crate? I did, sir. Har, how old are you? You've hardly a useful pair of hands. Not true, I can pull my weight, sir. Do you know your jiboom from your bowsprit? I do, I learned it all from my da. Your da? He's Ward's son. Followed him on board back in the city. His name is Smurf? What should we do with him, Captain? Well, Shaw? Your first mate, what should we do with him? Bro, we're gonna run out of food if we keep everybody. I mean, he's small and nimble. It might be useful for some things. We have 4 other people coming aboard and we're already going to be short on food and everything. Yeah, he's not staying on board. He's not staying on board. Drop them off at our next stop. Leave them with enough money to catch a boat back to the city. I didn't think it pertinent to bring any money to a frozen desert, did you? Best hope the boy's father is enough to keep him going. Jusedo drags the stowaway boy back below deck, taking him to see his father in the crew cabins. And what of the father? Should we drop him off with the boy? It's his son. That's for him to decide. Very well. Hopefully he doesn't care for the runt and I'm not down a sailor. Well, that matter's sorted. Now that's all settled, I have one more errand for you to run. Could you grab the Stoke brothers and order them to meet me up deck after dinner? FD lads, red hair. You couldn't mistake them for another. The Stoke brothers, who are they? You haven't met all the crew yet? The Stokes have been serving me for years. They'll be down in the middle deck. In the meantime, you should grab a copy of the crew manifest and get acquainted with more of the crew. Okay. Leave. Bro, you can already see the ice. Forecastle. The forecastle door appears to be locked. You can hear the kennel master preparing the room inside. Oh, well. Upon closer inspection, you make out the ship's photographer, Pesha Belford, balanced on the ship's mast with her camera, lining up a photo. Wait for her to finish. Snapping a shot, she clambers down and only noticing you on her landing. Oh, Officer Shaw. It's about time I met the first officer of the ship. Kesha Belford. Nice to meet you, Kesha. I suppose there was some sort of rule against what I was doing up there. Deepest apologies, but sometimes there's a shot you just cannot pass up. The accomplished photographer Kesha Belford won the Fentler Prize, the highest honor in journalism, for her work covering plague outbreaks and riots in the capital. It came as a surprise to many that such a reputable journalist would take such an interest in this expedition. There was scarcely any chance of Hunt or the benefactor turning her away. You expected someone of her accolades to be older, more experienced. This is likely your first time on the sea like this. She's not prepared for this. That much is obvious. The cold game. Picture that's a header. Sounds fine to me. I like it. For the piece of this voyage, I'm trying to come up with a snappy name. Nobody will read it if the title sounds like the work of an amateur. The cold game, picture that as a header. Tasha places a finger to her chin, squinting her eye in thought. It's not perfect, but it's a work in progress. Plenty of time. We haven't even hit the heist yet. It's just also exciting already. Colonial. I suppose someone of your experience finds it all boring at this point. A trip to the ice may seem dull compared to the Royal Admiralty. You have that right. That's a shame. Looking out on the open ocean, I don't know how anyone could find it dull. It's no wonder the great explorers like Kurt Darling would always come back to it. That reminds me, he'll be joining us at next port. I should get his picture at some point. Kasha holds up her camera with a sense of pride before holding it up to her face. Stand still, Shaw. How long did they take to develop? Only a day or two. I've made a makeshift darkroom in the hold. Speaking of photographs, she hands you an annotated document. Here it is, the crew manifest. Oh, cool, look at that. Okay. Killian Smurf Sanders is a sailor and he's ice savvy. Emilia Corvid Sparrow. Oh, Corvid is female. Also ice savvy and also a sailor. And Joseph Joe Green, sailor ice savvy. Sailors, scouts, engineers, we have 2. We have 3 scientists, specialists, we have a bunch. Robin Shaw, I love that my face is like Lenborn Colonial, that's me. Photographer in Lenborn, Kesha Belford, okay. Richard Templeton, Lenborn also in Science Officer, and the Captain, Captain Ice Savvy Muttwash. Don't know what that means. Resource cards and key items. Accordion, Grimley's accordion, a weathered instrument tuned with care, and then camera, Kesha's camera, integral to her report and the crew manifest. Okay. It's a work in progress. The scout team are to join us at the next port, and the captain's forbidden me from the boiler room. If you could ask the others to get their portraits taken, I'd be very grateful. Don't want to leave anyone out. Thank you. She smiles. I'll not disturb you or your work any further, officer. I have a few more shots I want to get before the sun lowers anyhow. Save shots, officer, don't worry. Yeah, I don't want to be rude, man. We don't have to be rude. I feel like that would have been a bit too much. Let's go back to the cabin. No. Nothing in here. 2 John. Zzz. You spot a large man with a youthful gait, carrying a heavy crate over his shoulder with relative ease. Oh, you're Officer Shaw. He gives a bright, warming smile. 2 Johns. That's what they call me. I'm sure you'll get your nickname later. 2 Johns attempts to offer a handshake but loses control of the crate. He struggles before firmly holding it in place with both hands. Ah, maybe later. Works awaits. He's been added to the crew manifest. Okay, what's his deal? There he is. Sailor and he's saltborn. Okay. Okay. Below deck. Hey, we can hear the accordion. Above deck and then below deck. Oh, mid deck. There we go. I cannot go lower deck. Approach the cook. You find yourself almost knocking over a man carrying a heavy pot. Careful, careful. You almost got drenched in broth. Apologies, I'm in a rush on a request for Hunt. From Hunt. Is there an issue with the ship? Nothing worth worrying about, I can assure you. Hope not. Hunt's too stubborn for the ice. It's how he's always been. You hear a roar from the other side of the door. Oi! What's holding you up? The cook shakes his head with a smile and chuckles slightly to himself. He grabs a large pot and prepares to make his way to the hungry crew before turning his head to you. If you don't mind, could you carry the tray of biscuits behind me? Carry the tray. You grab the plate and follow the cook out the door and to the table where the crew are waiting with bated breath. Upon the cook's arrival, the sailors let out a rowdy cheer, the ship's cook placing the broth upon the table. Trust me, fellas, this one is worth the wait. The cook speaks with a tone of pride as he ladles the broth into the bowls of the crew. Oi, one at a time, you animals. Ward, you're awfully handsy with only one arm. Ah, piss off, Junior. Got some bread here too. Grab it fast before Tucker beats you to it. The crew laughs and are merry as Junior guides you back through the kitchen. We weren't properly introduced. Robin Shaw, right? I've been keeping track of all the new crew. Yoren Stokes, but nobody calls me that. You'll hear them all call me Junior. You should do the same. No idea why Hunt picked someone he's never worked with as his first mate. But you seem the helpful sort. Glad to have you on board. Have you been traveling with Hunt long? My brother and I are among Hunt's most tenured crew. It's not often he'll hire outsiders, but I suppose this job is too big for just the usual suspects. Why Junior? Simple nickname. My older brother is in the crew. Hence, Junior. Not very interesting, I know, but it is what it is. You seem popular. Well, you know what they say about the hand that feeds. Besides, half the crew I've known for years. You don't spend that much time on a ship with folks without learning all about them. Is your brother around, Grimly? Aye, of course. Take that to mean Hunt is on the look for us. Don't you worry about it. I'll grab Grimly. Oh, but I wanted to talk to him too. Not too bad. Go. The crew have their meals. It passes in relative silence. The crew return to their post. The hammocks are unfurled in preparation for the evening. Twilight falls. Check out the, I'm assuming specialty for the cook? Yeah. Cook, and he's saltborn as well. Okay. The dinner table. Over dinner, you overhear the stowaway speaking with a one-armed man. You'll be dropped off at next port then. His name is Righty? Because he only has his... He lost his right arm? Oh my... Oh, this is so good. He's not even called Lefty. He's called Righty. That's perfect. You can talk the captain into letting me stay, right? Can't talk Hunt into anything when his mind's made up. Besides, he's right. But I can help. You're lucky he didn't throw you overboard. When we make land, I'm making sure you catch a trip back home. I'll be back after this. Not soon enough. Doug Ward added to the manifest. There he is. Sailor amputee. Some of these are locked and some of these aren't. Don't know what that means. Getting back up. Oh, who are you? You spot a one of Templeton's science team pacing around the middeck, searching through some luggage that has been pulled from a cabin. Let me look in the light. Where was it now? Mr. Gloss, I love it. He notices you. Ah, Officer Shaw, correct? Dwight Glossley. Apologies, I seem to have misplaced something while settling in the cabin. A bottle of wine, actually. Can't be hard to miss. I will turn up eventually. I would hope so. My wife and I brought a bottle to celebrate with. To be saved for the journey back, of course. Well, if you find it, please let me know. Okay, so we have to find a bottle of wine also. The ocean. As you look over the railing out to the ocean, a wisp of smoke flies past your face. You turn to examine and spot a sailor with a pipe in his mouth and a sheet of paper in his hand, overlooking the stirring waters. Who's that? Looking at something? Or you? No, wait. Not many sailors can read or write. What's the letter? A letter. All you need to know. Tashi. After introducing himself, Tashi falls silent and begins to read the letter. Trying to draw a confession from him may be similar to extracting teeth. Okay. Tashi. Sailor, smoker, rope savvy, gun savvy, saltborn. Damn, dude. Scientist. Mr. Gloss. The door to Hunt's cabin is shut tight. Stock 2, Templeton. You spot Templeton looking out into the sunset. As you approach, he turns to you and nods. Ah, Officer Shaw. It will be some time before we see a sunset such as this again. The light distribution towards the southern pole is quite the change. I noticed you weren't at dinner with the others. I prefer to eat in solitude. I have my own cabin and I make use of it. Templeton keeps his focus on the reflection of the setting sun over the stirring waters of the ocean. There is a great expectation upon us, officer. Are you feeling the pressure, Mr. Templeton? I cannot afford to. We all have to keep our focus. Templeton looks down, catching his reflection in the ocean's surface. He looks back up at the sunset. Quite the sight, but I wouldn't linger upon it too long. We should retire for the evening. It's important the first officer be well rested. Oh, I have to press E. Okay. But you have to press and release. The food ration per crew member this week. Normal 2 per person. And the fuel ration, normal also. Oh wow, I can go double? Bro, even if I take if I take normal, which is 2, we're already half what we need. It's crazy. If I do that, then we lose morale. Damn, son. I feel like it's not cold yet. Maybe we should like do half rations and half fuel. Not sure. Let's just keep it that way. The ship makes its last port at Whaletail Island. Cordell's sledding dogs are picked up. The scouting crew and Kurt Darling are picked up. The stowaways left off at the port with a pittance to buy their way home. The days are getting brighter as you move further south. Two weeks in the Temperance. There's a rasp on your cabin door. Come in. The door swings open to reveal Kurt Darling, all but filling its frame, grinning ear to ear. There you are, Officer Shaw. The ship's navigator is a difficult man to miss. Stature and reputation precede him. Adorned with a slew of apparatus, this seemingly one-man expedition would be known to anyone following the heyday of exploration and the merchandising that followed. It's an honor. Really, a wealth of invaluable experience in such hostile environments. A wonder he's not been swept up to some other posts. Hiding away from the rest of us, are you? Are you always this early to rise? These days I tend to enjoy a good lie-in, but not during an expedition. You know what they say of early birds and worms. Apologies for not stopping by sooner, Shaw. It took a while to set up my team, and a great deal of the crew were quite eager to meet me. Whew. It's not often you work with a film star, is it? Certainly. It's completely understandable on their part. There aren't many who haven't seen my films, particularly in this line of work. More than one fellow of this crew said my work inspired them to explore the world. Quite the honor, is it not? I'm certain you received that praise of 10. Not as often as you would think. I suppose I did get distracted, didn't I? Anyway, I was hoping you'd join me up deck. Of course, but why? We finally entered the pack. I thought you'd want to see it for yourself. Right behind you, Kurt. Kurt turns to walk away before turning back. Oh, and enjoy your morning. It's a good day, Shaw. Har. He leaves. Wait, he's not there? Where is he? He's not there. Oh, it's just a recap of what I've already seen. Okay. You note one of the science team returning to their room. Ah, Mrs. Gloss. Did you have a good rest? She nods to you. Ah, hello. I did not expect Minnie to be up this early. Harriet Glossley. Harriet. What is you up so early? I find it difficult to adjust to sleep on a moving vessel. I believed a walk around the ship would help acclimate myself to the waves. Perhaps it will take some more time. With that, Mrs. Gloss makes her way back to her cabin. The science teams aren't used to the sea or the sailor folk. Quite the culture clash, isn't it? Well, I'm sure they'll grow used to them over time. Okay, she's been added to the manifest now. Science team. There she is. Doctor's office. Locked. Seems the good doctor isn't in. Perhaps enjoying his sleep. You are yet to come across the ship's doctor, even after all this time. Probably a good sign. If you think about it. Hammocks.